All right, guys, hello, we are back. Lance Martin, Coldwell Banker Town and Country. Our July market snapshot is here. I hope everybody had a wonderful 4th of July. We're a little bit behind on getting this out. Today is July, what is July? I think July 12th, 13th, 14th, something like that. So we're a couple days late. Hopefully this will be getting in everybody's inbox here in the next 24 hours, which will be Friday. I guess that's going to be or Saturday the 15th or 16th. So this is me, Lance Martin, Coldwell Banker Town and Country. We still have our Linktree code up that we've been just continuing rolling out from the market forecast that we did back in March. So all of that stuff is there, and all of our monthly snapshots you'll be able to find on the Linktree as well. So what's in the news? Before I start with what's in the news, I've been in this business a long time. When I first got into the business, I was told it's kind of a sales technique. It might seem a little slimy, but it was, hey, when someone say, how's the real estate market? And your response was, unbelievable. And that kind of fit any answer. If the market's unbelievable, that could mean it's great, it's not so great, it fits for a lot of things. So I don't know, I used to use that a lot. I think I probably abandoned it 20 years ago, but guess what? The market is unbelievable. So we'll put a little bit of context into what that means. And for some people, unbelievable means really good. For other people, it means it's not so good. For others, it's just a little frustrating. So we shall see. So what's in the news? I pulled up a couple of things. Oh, actually, let me back up. This is a slide from last month. We are keeping a very, very close eye on the California insurance market. I mentioned this last month. I think we're just now starting to see the effects of State Farm and Allstate and a few other large carriers in the state of California that are no longer writing homeowners insurance in the state of California. It seems like kind of a boring, oh geez, insurance, who really cares? I'm telling you, it's a big deal. We're having escrows that are actually falling out for this reason. Don't panic though, there's some sources here, but this is potentially going to be a pain point for many of us. It's certainly a pain point for us right now. So we'll see. Not that I'm looking for some sort of government intervention, because generally speaking, I don't want any government intervention. But something between the state government and the California Insurance Commissioner is going to have to intervene to fix this problem. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see problems in the residential insurance market. Okay, so this was the slide I was going to address just a minute ago. A lot of numbers. I know they're very, very small. You probably can't see them on the video, so relax. Go back to the QR code. Presentation is there, and you'll be able to print these out and do what you want with it. So what do all these little numbers on this chart look like? I don't think I've ever brought anything to you guys from the economist team at Goldman Sachs. Well, guess what? I'm bringing you something from the economic team at Goldman Sachs. So there's two charts. They generally look identical, but you gotta take a minute. I've put a couple of circles on here to kind of focus on the areas that we want to focus on. First of all, the top circle, the GS, is Goldman Sachs, the bear scenario. So this is, I guess, the bear market, the bad scenario, what happens if things go bad. And what you're looking at here, and I'm not going to pay any attention to the top group, is basically housing starts. Housing starts is what the insiders basically refer to as we're building houses. A housing start is a new construction of a new particular property. Single family, multifamily, we're going to leave that alone. Existing inventory change, we're going to go past that here for a second. And then we're going to come down into existing home sales. Okay, a minute ago I said the market is unbelievable. Well, one of the things, if you guys have been following my stuff over the last several months or years, is I have a bunch of different audiences. So if you're a seller, if you own a piece of property, or let me back up on that. If you own a piece of residential real estate, generally speaking, in my marketplace, which I'm going to describe as Southern California, you should be pretty happy right now, okay? We're going to talk about values and market crashes, which everybody's predicting a crash and has been predicting a crash. We've talked about it here on our snapshot for months and months and months, well over a year. It seems like we talk about it every year. Well, there's no crash, okay, which is kind of what this number is. So let's talk about home owners right now, and potentially homeowners that maybe are thinking about selling in the future. So the bear market for homeowners is a couple of things. I'm going to go down to this bottom line. So according to Goldman Sachs, these are national numbers, by the way. This would not be a forecast for Southern California or inland Southern California. But I guess bear market, Goldman Sachs worst case scenario says at the end of this year, property values on a national level will be down 3.5%. Okay. Given what we've been doing here for the last year and a half or year or so and how volatile this market's been, interest rates, Fed, inventory problems, all the rest of that sort of stuff, if we ultimately settled in any marketplace down 3.5%, I would consider that a win, okay? By the way, don't stop here because we got a lot more to say. That's not what's happening in our marketplace. But nationally, Goldman Sachs says worst case scenario, we're going to end up about a 3.5% depreciation in 2023. We've got a 2024 column, which is generally flat, and they go all the way out to 2025, which basically is also flat, okay? Getting back to my sellers, but also putting my broker real estate agent hat on that says, geez, it would be nice to sell some houses so I can pay the rent in my offices. This is a really rough number, but also, even though this is not what's happening in inland Southern California, this is more close to what's happening in inland Southern California. And that number is a negative 18.5% in unit sales, basically selling 18.5% fewer homes than what we sold previously. That is I wish it was 18.5% in our market. Our number is much, much bigger than that. Now, the good news is if you want to take a look at Goldman Sachs' worst case scenario, in 2024, they say, hey, we're going to sell 8% more, and in 2025, it's a 6% more, which I suppose is good to see a positive number, even though they're red, they're positive numbers. But that's Goldman Sachs' worst case scenario, their bear market prediction nationally. Now their bull market, hey, things are good and we're all happy and we got smiles on our face. Basically, the chart looks almost identical. Let's go down to this one. Instead of a 3.5% depreciation in 2023, they're basically calling a 3% appreciation, positive number for 2023, and then another 3% in 2024, and then 2% in 2025. So let's just call that flat. And by the way, quite honestly, if we ended up with a flat market nationally, I think that would be good. If we ended up with a flat market in the next 3 years, price-wise, what are property values doing? Again, I think that would be good. That is not what we are experiencing in our market in Southern California. So when you see these headlines from CNBC or Fox News or MSNBC or whoever your thing is where you're getting your information, just remember 99% of the stuff that you're going to see is all national. It really doesn't apply to what we're doing. Every now and then it tends to align, but generally speaking, it doesn't. So Goldman Sachs, I don't think I've ever brought anything from you guys, but I wanted to give you their positive and their negative, their bull and their bear, because frankly, if you average them out, what they're basically saying is the market's flat. And to me, 3% plus, 3% minus, it's almost indistinguishable. I wouldn't even, given the volatility that we've had in the last year and a half, 2 years, I think I wouldn't even call that volatile. I would just say, yeah, okay, we're just leveling out, it's stable. And then again, their best case scenario is we're going to sell 8% fewer houses nationally in 2023. And then 10% more next year, and then 2% more the following years. I'd give my left arm if that was true in our market. That is not true in our market. We are selling significantly fewer homes. Guess what? It's unbelievable, okay? And if my cadence of the tone of my voice didn't come across as negative, unbelievable in a bad way. The inventory is just horrific. So what else we got in the news? I've left Chairman Powell up here. I had this up here, I think a month ago, maybe even 2 months ago. Well, guess what? He's not done. He's not done. We thought he was done. I thought he was done. Everybody I'm listening to seemed to think he was done. The consensus now is he is not done, and the Fed will basically see maybe another 25 basis points and then maybe another 25 basis points. We'll see. Who knows? The CPI numbers came out. Inflation numbers look very, very good, as in softer. Things look better, I suppose. Again, bad news is good news for him, and good news is bad news for him. So anything that comes out positive, he tends to react the opposite way, and vice versa. So you really got to kind of wrap your head around it. It does not appear as though the Fed is done, however. So we'll see what happens with interest rates, and we'll talk about those before we wrap up today. So we're going to do the same thing we've always done. I'm kind of stuck in a rut here, and maybe I'll switch this up here a little bit, but I really think that this helps me certainly kind of determine where my business model is going. And for those of you that are tuning in, maybe it does the same for you. So as always, we're starting off with LA County. I'm going to spend more time on LA County only because LA County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, Orange County, just like every single month since we've been doing these. I've been doing this for 20 years, but for the last 2 years, we've been doing these in-studio presentations. I've been saying the same thing. The charts basically look the same. They basically look the same. There's some variation. So again, I'm going to spend a little more time on LA County, and then we're just going to apply it to Riverside, and I'll point out the differences, San Bernardino and Orange. And by the way, our spotlight city today is Murrieta, so we'll get to that one as well. So let's get into it. So 2-year LA County chart, median price. Again, if you have a hard time seeing it on the screen, go back to the QR code. All of these are available. You can take a look at them, print them, do what you want with it. So this is about a year ago. This is when everyone, oh my God, the market is going to crash. The world is ending. Property values were coming down. Everybody was nervous. And we pretty much tied it into interest rates. Buyers were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We went from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to where are we? And we just basically started to see property values pull back rather. Some of that's traditional. It happens every single year. Even in those years where we see up appreciation, which we've seen for many, many, many years in a row, normally you'll start to see a little bit of a pullback 2, 3, 4 months. Normally it's small, and then we kind of charge back up. Well, we started to see that pullback for LA County. It looks like it was April 2022, and a little lower, a little lower, a little lower, a little lower, a little lower. And we basically continue to pull back through the holidays and into, looks like January for LA County. Now, back here, everyone's freaking out. I don't think I was freaking out. I think I was saying relax. Yes, we've seen some pullbacks. Yes, it's a little bit ugly. But, and again, I'm an REO guy. You know, part of me says, all right, bring it on, baby. You know, I got them all. I mean, the Fannie, the Freddie, the servicers, or whatever it happens to be, it, you know, turning a dime, and next thing you know, I'm back in the REO business like I've been several times in the past. Not that I was rooting for it, but frankly, if that happened, I'd come in here, I'd continue to do my market forecast, and the reality is I probably would have a big smile on my face because there's a small group of agents that do very, very well in a distressed real estate market. And in the past, I happen to be one of those agents, and the agents and the office members and the teammates and the agents around me. Quite honestly, for one of the reasons that I've done as well as I have with Coldwell Banker and the expansion of that office is because I was an REO guy, and that's how we built the offices, doing foreclosures. So part of me says, great, bring it on, but I've been saying for months, it's not happening. It is not happening. Having said that, I had a friend of mine call me today and says, hey Lance, I'm writing an offer on a HUD and I don't have my NAID number. Would you help me out? And I said, I absolutely will. HUD foreclosure, that is. But again, it's one HUD foreclosure. I have no idea where it is. They're going to be out there. There's going to be the onesie twosies. But at any rate, getting back to LA County, we saw the property values pull back, and then it looks like in LA County, November, December, maybe January of this year, we started to march back up, okay? That has pretty much been the case across the board. Why is that? Well, we have an inventory problem, which we're going to get to in a minute. So this is the 2-year LA County chart. This is the 12-month LA County chart. And if it's kind of, wow, it almost looks like we backfilled almost all of the property value losses. Not quite for LA County, but pretty damn close. This is the peak to trough chart for LA County. So we started doing this 7 months, 8, maybe 9 months ago, I don't remember, where we said this is where we peaked. And for LA County, it was April of 2022. And frankly, the following month when we didn't go up, that's when everyone started freaking out. Oh my God, we're freaking out. Interest rates are up. What's going to happen? So, but this is our peak to current, and we'll let you know what that number is in a minute. You can still see the trend bar has got a little bit of downward trajectory on there, as they pretty much all do for the other counties. But again, you're going to see this little valley and this little rise on every single county that I'm going to show you. And let me just skip ahead. Every single market that we're looking at for the July snapshot, property values increased from May to June. Again, okay? San Bernardino, we had a little bit of a glitch, anomaly or whatever it happened to be a couple of months ago. Now, again, we're going to pause on LA County. This is year-to-date LA County. By the way, if you want to skip ahead, that's a 10% increase. January, February, March, April, May, June. Oh, gosh, I'm telling you. That's good news, Lance. What's wrong? That's great news because look what we just did. We went from here to here. That's a 10% increase. And from here to here was about a 12, 13% decrease. So we backfilled it. Yeah, we did. So if you're a homeowner and you weren't happy in January because you looked at my stuff and said, "Oh, honey, I think we just lost 13% of our property values in the last 7 months." Well, now you can sleep better and say, well, you just backfilled 10% of that and you feel good. So it's unbelievable, okay? If you were a buyer here and you didn't buy because of interest rates, guess what? It's unbelievable. You should have probably bought back here. Who knows? What did I do? I don't know what to do. Well, why don't you watch my stuff? Not that you're going to make your decisions on my stuff, but take a look at it. Put it into the hopper. Call me. Call other people you trust. I would have told you back here in January, if you find the house that you like in the neighborhood you like, I know the interest rates there were probably 6.5, give or take, buy the damn house. And if you bought that house, LA County in general, in January of this year, 6 months later, you're 10% to the better, okay? Now again, unbelievable. So these are good things, but you know what? They're also bad things. Because one of the things that Chairman Powell is trying to do as it relates to inflation is, and again, if you've really been following my stuff, over a year ago, he went out and said, we need to do a reset in residential real estate. Well, guess what? I think he felt that he was doing the reset in residential real estate as things started to come down. Well, because the inventory is so tight, and there's no houses, and I'm only exaggerating a little bit, there's so few houses available to buy. On the buy side, this is still a supply and demand market, and if you've been paying attention to my shit at all for the last year or so, I've been saying that we will not have a crash if for one reason and one reason alone is even if we get rid of 50, 60, 70% of the buyers, which we kind of sort of have, we still have such a small amount of inventory for them to choose from. That supply and demand is still out of balance. And what do you get? Now we get these property values increasing again. So again, depending upon who you are, I guess it's a good thing. As much as I like to see this backfill, and because honestly, one of the things it does do is at least it potentially cools down those people who are calling for the real estate market crash and all of the reasons that they have. And some of them make sense in a vacuum. You start putting a few other things in there and those things tend to go away a little bit. But the reason I am concerned about this is because this is one of the things that the Fed has square in their sights. And when they see what is turning into a hot real estate market, it's really hard for me to say that with a straight face. Because if you're an agent or a broker or an owner, this doesn't feel like a hot real estate market because we're not selling enough houses. But there's really no other way to describe a 10% appreciation in property values in 6 months of the beginning of this year as any other than hot, okay? But it's truly a supply and demand driven. So again, this is still LA County. The other counties, as you will see, will be very, very similar. So what do we have here? So it's $870,000 as median price. That's 3.9% lower than 12 months ago. But again, 6 months ago, it was about 13% lower. From 905, which is where it was 12 months ago, 840, 24 months ago, which is 3.6% higher. So today we're 3.6% higher than we were 24 months ago. From peak to current, which I think we said was, what did we say that was? Let's go back here. That was April of 20. So from here to there, peak LA County to where we are right now, it's 4.8%. 4.8% doesn't feel too bad, guys. 13% felt rough, 17% felt rough, depending upon where you were. So 6 months ago, in November, December, January, when that number was 13, 14%, and everyone's screaming crash, 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 or maybe they said, hey, we're right, I said it was going to crash, and quite honestly, I don't know that a 10 or 12% decrease is considered a crash, but it's certainly heading towards a negative number. When we've backfilled it at a 4.8% negative number, it's nothing. It's nothing. And frankly, at the rate we're going, that number is going to be smaller next month, more than likely. Year to date, it's 10.1%. So that's January to date, 10.1%. And just real quick, because I want to go back, because if you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitter, and you're following some people out there, many of whom I respect, all you hear about is median price is trash, Lance. Don't use median price. For all the reasons that they say, you got to be careful when you use median price. They're fine. I don't disagree with them. But for what we're doing here with the large data sample we have, once again, for everybody who's saying, oh, I can't pay attention to this because Lance uses medium, these numbers are fine. I've been spot on. I've been using these exact same charts and these exact same program for 20 years. 20 years. They look exactly, God forbid they actually updated the program. They look exactly the same today as they did 20 years ago. It all washes out, and I've been able to predict and run my business on it very, very well using median price. So anyway, there's my median price stuff. Okay, LA County supply and demand. Again, we'll spend a little bit more time on LA County because the other counties are the same. Again, my red bars, if you guys have been following me on this, red bars are active listings, okay? If we went back farther, you would see these camel humps continue every single year for 20 years, and you see inventory peak in the summertime. Normally it's June, July, August-ish, and then it goes down, and then it starts to come back up in May, or March, April, May, and then it peaks again, and then it comes down in September, October, November, and it does this. We didn't do that this year. I've been using, again, same charts over 20 years. I have never, it's unbelievable, I have never seen the inventory not increase ever. Sometimes it's February, sometimes it's March, sometimes it's April, but it's always one of those 3 months, and it always goes up until normally the middle of the summer. We can talk about when that has changed over the years. Didn't happen this year. We basically have trended down the entire way. It's unbelievable. So the inventory is just not there. This is why the prices are there. Why is it not there? We've talked about it here. Jump on Twitter, jump on the news. It'll take you about 30 seconds for someone to say what we've been saying here for a long time, which is there's just not enough inventory. The sellers are not selling because they have extremely attractive interest rates on their current mortgage. And why would I sell my house and give up my 2.5%, 3.5%, even a 4% mortgage when I'm going to trade it in for a 6.5% or 7% mortgage? Oh, and by the way, what am I going to buy? You know, I'm not even sure I could buy the house that I wanted to buy because there's inventory so low. So we have locked that inventory in place, and it's going to be that way for a while. So this is the $64,000 question. Well, let's actually go back to LA. So here we are, summertime, down, what is this, August, September, October, November, December, down. Normal, by the way, that's normal, okay? Here, last year we peaked also in August, lower September, October, November, December, January, February, down. So the question is, are we going to continue the normal trend? By the way, the normal trend would be for this number maybe to go up another month, in the month of July, maybe go up in August, which it might, who knows. But even if it goes up a little bit, it's going to go up a little bit, okay? And then in theory, if the market does what it's been doing for as long as I've been tracking this, list inventory continues to drop the rest of the year, which basically means it's going to be unbelievable for the third and fourth quarter. Inventory will continue to be tighter. Buyers will continue to be frustrated with this lack of inventory. Sellers who do want to sell will frankly probably be happy. I was going to pull up a text message that one of my agents sent me over the weekend, wrote an offer, $580,000 purchase price or list price. She wrote the offer, I think she said it was 50 above, so 625, 630-ish. Got an email back from the listing agent, 80 offers on the property. Hers was $50,000 above list. She did not make the cut, okay? That happened 5 days ago, okay? And of course the property sold above that. which is why we're getting these property values increasing. So again, our inventory is just unbelievable. There's the isolated 12-month chart, and you can just see that arrow just going down. It is, or that trend line just going down. This is our month supply. We're not going to go through any of that one today, but you can see the chart is down. So where are we with homes for sale? There's just call it 9,600 houses for sale in LA County last month. That would be June. 25% fewer than a year ago, 23.9% fewer than 2 years ago, 2,500 pendings. This is another one. We're going to pause here for, actually, let me go back. It's a small number, 5.4% fewer sales than a year ago. If that was just 5.4 fewer sales than a year ago, I would care less. I'd be like, no big deal. Yeah, big deal. 5% here, 5% there. We have figured that out. This 34% number gets my attention. And if you've been an observer of my snapshots, these numbers down here have been big, 20, 30, 40, 50% reduction in sales. The reason I want to isolate this small number is, let's go back, take a peek at it. The reason that this is the bar, this is what this corresponds to, this blue line, and for here, it basically looks flat, looks almost unchanged, okay? It is almost unchanged. But what are we comparing it to? We're comparing it to June of 2022. Go back and watch the June of 2022 real estate market snapshot, and you know what I was saying? Oh my God, where's all of our buyers at? We just tanked. So we've been in this kind of really difficult marketplace right now for over a year. So some of these year-over-year numbers are not going to look as bad as maybe they otherwise would have, because we're comparing, quite honestly, a not so great number, current number, with what was a not so great number 12 months ago. So even though the differential is small, you got to kind of take a little closer look at it. It says, well, yeah, well, we're comparing it to a really, really low number a year ago. And again, if you go back and you watch the June 2022 snapshot, if you kind of look at my expression in my face and read between the lines, you'll probably say like, geez, Lance seems a little grumpy. Yes, I don't know if that comes through or not. Yeah, I probably was a little grumpy because we weren't selling enough houses. And guess what? We are not selling enough houses today. So by the way, if you're a killer, if you're in the 95.5 category and you're the 5% of agents that are out there killing it, you're just going to laugh this off and say, Lance, I got this, okay? And you do, and you will crush this marketplace in the most positive way. The rest of the 95%ers, it's time to up the game, baby. You got to up the game. You got to get to work or you will be crushed. I don't have the slide with me, but NAR never does this. National Association of Realtors came out, I think it was a week or so ago, and forecast a pretty significant number in reduction of licensed realtors basically paying dues to the state, local, and national association. I believe the number was 10%. I got to be honest with you. If only 10% of the agents jump out of this business during this year, that's probably 40% too few. Oops. At any rate, yes, I own a real estate office. I've got a couple hundred agents. I'm not talking to any of you guys because you guys are all rock stars. You're all 5%ers. But anyway, so this is that bar. Again, we're comparing a low number to a low number, which is why that 5.4% isn't that big of a deal. Okay, so LA County did the setup. Let's see how similar Riverside County is as we go through. Do we have that exact same little valley? Pretty much. By the way, is that bar higher than this bar? Yes, it is, and it has been higher ever since. It looks like we troughed in January. So we continue to saw the fall down. We basically hit the trough in January, and we've been marching back up ever since because there's no inventory or a small amount. Here's the 12-month chart for Riverside County. Again, we've got our nice little peak and valley there. This is peak to current. So it was exactly a year ago, June of 2022, 12 months ago or 13 months ago, is when Riverside County saw its highest property value posted. And here we are. And does it look like we're almost back? We are. I'll skip ahead. If you can't see that number right there, it's 1.6%. So when we get to the big reveal here in a minute, from where we started to where we've been kind of bouncing around here to where we are now, the differential is 1.6%. It's a lower number. We're 1.6% lower than it was at the peak. That is nothing. Okay. Now, when we were here, I think that number was 10 or 11%. Same exact thing for LA County. Oh my God, we just lost 10% of our value. 6 months later, oh my gosh, it's only 1%. So we'll see what happens next month. If this number is not even, if it's going to be negative, it's going to be less than 1%, 0.5%. It just, or it might even be positive. So all of that property, I was going to say destruction. Chris Thornburg would call me out. All that property value destruction. He yelled at me and said, "What are you talking about, destruction? Relax, Lance." All of that loss in property values that we saw in Riverside and in LA County is almost completely erased. Again, good news, bad news. It's unbelievable. Here's our year-to-date chart. January to here, that's a 9% increase. LA County was 10.1%? So boom, now we've got first 6 months of the year, 9% increase. Let's just assume we stay on that trend. What does this look like? Good God, it looks like 2020 and 2021. All over again, 20% appreciation in property values. 20% appreciation in property values. See, we can't do that. That's a problem. We're on path to do it again, but for different reasons now. Because we have a lockdown inventory supply, because we've got these ridiculously high interest rates, which, by the way, those high interest rates were supposed to do this, okay? Not this, all right? So they kind of sort of worked until everybody said, well, I guess I can't sell my house because I have a 3% rate. I'm stuck. Again, it's a broken record, I know. So here's Riverside County year to date. So where are we? $605,000 median for Riverside County, a mere 1.6% lower than it was a year ago, 10% higher than it was 2 years ago. By the way, 2 years ago was $550, last year was $615 and $605. So, and again, there's your 1.6% differential. But our year-to-date number, January to June of 2023, we're up 9%. LA County was 10.1. Supply and demand, it's the same. Look at that. Oh, painful, painful, painful. I've said it 5 times. I'm not going to say it again. So Riverside County looks the same. Here's the isolated 12-month chart. If that trend line looks even steeper, it looks steeper because it is steeper. It's just a horrible trend. This is our month supply of inventory based upon, again, where we were a year ago. That is 1.7 months supply. I have a hard time with that number. It's really not an accurate number. It is 1.7 months supply, but the reality is there's probably 2 to 3 weeks of inventory available on the market, truly at any given time, just the way the cycles through. So, homes for sale, 4,600 homes in Riverside County. Oh, 32% fewer than a year ago, 16% fewer than 2 years ago. 1,400 houses in escrow last month. Again, not a lot of homes. 12.7% than a year ago. 38% fewer than 2 years ago. Now, I'm not going to say it again, but if we rewind the tape about 7 minutes and you go back when we isolated this for LA County, that 12.7% number it's not a great number, but again, it's also compared to what was not a great number a year ago, because we started feeling this over a year ago. And frankly, it's continued to tighten up. Median price, San Bernardino County, it's the same. Got a little bit of choppiness here in San Bernardino. I don't really know why. Lance, it's choppy because you use median and some anomaly happened. If that's true, okay, well, some anomaly happened, and guess what? It balanced itself out. We're going to be fine. We're looking at the long term here. So this is San Bernardino County 12-month. Again, basically still that same valley. This is peak to trough. Peak was also June of 2022 for San Bernardino County. Here is our our year to date. That's 8.3%. LA was 10.1. Riverside was 9. 8.3 for San Bernardino. So these are the numbers there. 4% down year over year, 7% over the last 2 years. Peak to current, 4%, and 8.3% year-to-date increase. Again, look at us. Aren't we happy? It's unbelievable. What a great year 2023 has been. Property values just continue to rage. Supply and demand, same chart. Although we did see maybe a little bit of a flattening, maybe what could potentially be an uptrend in listings in San Bernardino County. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with that. But generally speaking, we never saw the inventory that we expected in San Bernardino as well, and the pendings, of course, as well, and the month supply as well. So it is the broken record. 27% fewer homes for sale than a year ago, 18% than 2 years ago. Sold 8% fewer homes than we did 1 year ago, and 40% than 2 years ago. Now, for those of you that are really in the weeds on that, you say, wait a minute, Lance, you talk about how bad last June was, but you didn't say anything about how great 24 months ago was, July or June of 2021. Okay, guilty, I didn't. That was a great year. Okay, June of 2021, we were on fire. So as heavy of a number as that is, realistically, I discounted a little bit because June of 2021 was fantastic. Things were going bananas. We were selling stuff left, right, and sideways. So keep that in mind. That's true for all of these. We are, the gentleman from, his name's escaped me. I did this last month. Steve Harney, I think it is. I'll get it straight next month. He's got the relationship with Keeping Current Matters. He posts a lot of stuff, and he's been referring to those as the unicorn years, the COVID years, 2020 and 2021, because they were truly unicorns. So for those of you that are saying, Lance, you're comparing it to a unicorn number, okay, you're right. So maybe that 40% isn't quite as heavy as it otherwise would be. But it is what it is. Orange County. We've talked about Orange County several months ago. I've been keeping it in our presentation now for the last 6 or 7 months because I had a lot of people like, Orange County is done. Stick a fork in it. The prices were too high. People are escaping, or not necessarily escaping. Everybody loves Orange County, but it's like, we can't afford to live there. So what are we going to do? Interest rates are high. We can't afford to live there. Bad news. Well, again, it basically, let's do the 12-month. It looks the same, a little heavier though. So if that little trough in the middle there looks a little deeper than it did in LA, Riverside, San Bernardino, well, it was a little deeper, but look at that. It's back, baby. It's back. It just came right marching right back with interest rates between 6 and 7%. The peak for LA County was April. Again, there's the April of 2022. So what are the numbers? Oh, here's the year to date. Orange County. Does it look the same? The number's almost exactly the same as San Bernardino. It's an 8% increase, January to June in Orange County. So everybody that was really worried here, and there were a lot of really worried people here in November and December, well, guess what? Orange County, as different as you are and as special as you are, you're no different than the Inland Empire when it comes to this. Your values and your charts have tracked almost identical. So what does it all mean? Flat. June to June, no change in Orange County. That's a $1.25 million sales price this June, and it was a $1.25 million sales price of June of 2022. No change. So that little trough in between, gone. Now, the trough started a little bit before that. So you got to remember, it wasn't in June, it started in April. So Orange County is still 3.8% lower than it was from the peak. But if I'm not mistaken, we had a chart that showed, I said LA County, I'm sorry, Orange County. Orange County is still 3.8% lower than it was from peak. But if we go back to when it was at the trough, I think that number was 14%, give or take. Well, guess what? It's now 3.8%. It's nothing. Okay, anything give or take 5% in my mind it can be erased very easily. And then the year-to-date of 8.2% in Orange County. So Orange County, again, is crushing it, but guess what? They got the exact same problem as everybody else, although they did see a little bit of inventory return, unlike the other counties. But all you got to do is compare last year to this year, and you can see that not much. Month supply of inventory down. Again, 1.5 months in Orange. So where are we? 3,200 houses for sale, 32% fewer than a year ago, 29% fewer than 2 years ago, 1,182 houses sold. And by the way, when you look at this number, that's the entire county. That's everything in the entire county. For all of those counties, when you take a look at those, that might seem like a big number. Orange County is huge. It sold less than 1,200 houses in the entire county. In theory, what is supposed to be peak season. Okay, peak season, it's a small number, 6.6% fewer than a year ago, and let's call it 40% fewer than 2 years ago. Temecula, interesting, as I pulled Temecula up this morning, I ran all these numbers are less than 12 hours old. I realized I did Temecula June of 2023. I really didn't have a plan in place. I just guess I kind of got lucky. So the last time we ran the Temecula numbers and we presented them here was exactly 12 months ago. Does it look similar? It sure does. There it is, City of Temecula. You're always going to get a choppier chart when you do a city or a zip code just because it's a smaller data sample. Basically flat, although not flat. We'll talk about that in a second. Peak to current, yeah, call it flat. The reality is that that's a very slight downtrend, 1.7% lower in the City of Temecula today than it was at the peak, which is April of 2022. 1.7% is nothing. And by the way, your house in the City of Temecula very well could be positive 2%, maybe positive 4%. Or you know what, you could be negative 3%. Don't know. Okay, we'd have to get a little closer. These are big kind of bucket numbers. Where are we with year to date? It's a big number. It's 13%. Temecula has increased 12.8% since January of this year. You know what it is? It's unbelievable. So again, if you are an owner who is held, you're happy. If you're a buyer who didn't buy in January, you're not so happy. If you're a real estate agent, you're happy, but we just need more houses to sell as we, broken record. So here we are. Last 12 months, Temecula is up 1.5%. I think I got that wrong. I think I was supposed to be a negative number in here. Yeah, this number is wrong. I'll fix it on the chart. This should be negative 1.7% from peak to current, and 12.8% year to date. Again, just on fire. Supply and demand, not a lot of houses for sale in the city. Same sort of thing, same exact looking chart. What does it mean? Let's go straight to the number. Only 303 houses for sale in the whole city. Only 100 houses in the entire City of Temecula went in a contract on in June of last year. Oops, 52% fewer homes than 2 years ago. Okay, 12% than a year ago. So it is what it is. So here we are. I'm pulling her out again. Transactions are down. That is the theme. And as long as we do not see listed inventory, we will see fewer transactions. And as long as that trend continues, I see no possible way, barring some sort of black swan event, that property values are going to go down. Quite honestly, honest to God, I wish they just would have been flat for the last 6 months and we wouldn't be seeing these 8, 10, 9, 12.8% appreciation in values. But it is what it is. It's unbelievable, guys. So this is just the theme. Honestly, I don't see it changing. I really think we're going to have a transaction problem for a while, which basically means we're going to have, call it artificial if you want, but we're going to have this base of support that is going to continue to hold up these property values. And guess what? We're at interest rates at basically at 7, okay? If you watch Chris Thornburg in my presentation a year and a half ago, even 2 years ago, we said the real estate market breaks at 7, okay? Well, you know what? It did break. It broke for about a year, and the buyers have basically said, all right, whatever. I guess interest rates now are 6.5, 6.75, 6 7/8, 7, 7.25. I guess I want to buy a house. And they're buying houses, okay? So it broke for a lot of buyers who couldn't afford, but there were still a lot of buyers that could afford, okay? And given the fact that a lot of sellers said, well, hell, it's broken for me because I'm going to keep my 3% mortgage. So that part's broken, but it certainly hasn't broken property values because there are still buyers in the marketplace basically at a 7% interest rate. And we've been at that for a little while now, between north of 6 anyway. So where are we with the interest rates? Let's bring this thing home. This is my optimal blue chart. This is 12 months of data. If you really follow interest rates, this was about a week to 10 days ago when we, again, were above 7% on your average 30-year conventional mortgage. We've seen quite a bit of improvement just in the last week or so. There's been some good news out there. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to bore you guys with what the spread is. If you really want to get technical and you look at the spread is huge. It's over 300 basis points. In theory, what that means is we should have interest rates much lower than we have right now, maybe 5.5%. But that's not what's happening. And I don't control that, and I don't know who does control it. And if they're not telling me what the plan is as it relates to those rates. But we have seen some improvement. So this is the 7.3%. You better have great credit and be a rock star. If you go to the old Google machine, you basically punch in the same thing. It'll tell you 7.25, let's say. Quite honestly, most of the buyers that my agents are working with are probably going to be looking at a rate north of 7 instead of south of 7. In other words, with a 6 handle on it. But I don't know. I don't know what your credit looks like. I don't know what your income looks like. I don't know what your down payment looks like. I don't know what kind of financing you're doing. So let's just call it 7% right now. I don't do loans, but I have a bunch of people that do. So if you need help with that, let me know. Do not go to the interweb and fill out an application or say what are rates and apply at Rocket Mortgage or anything like that. Call me. Let me connect you with one of my people. You can trust them. They'll take good care of you, and you'll get the best rate you possibly can get. So there we are with rates. I threw in one extra chart. It's, again, probably impossible to see on the video, so if you want to take a peek at this, pull up the QR code. This comes from the Fed, actually. And this, it's kind of difficult, so I'll just give you a quick one. If you think this is something you want to look at, you again, go get it on yourself. This is our current interest rate rise. That's basically 500 basis points of interest rates increases in what is approximately 14 months, okay? This is what we did, 300 basis points in 1988, 1989. For those of you that were around, that took 15 months. In 1994 to 1995, for those of you guys that were around, we did 270 basis points, and that took about 12 months. In 2000, 1999 to 2000, we did 1.5, 150 basis points, and we did that in 6 months. And then back in 2015 to 2018, we did 200 basis points, and that took 3 years. The point of that chart is we have never done this that quickly, okay? That's where you got a lot of people, myself included, frustrated with our financial policy that says, hey, we have to control inflation. I got it. I'm not an economist, but I know it's ugly. But you push a button over here and something else happens over there. And it's messy. It's messy. We all this talk about recession. Oh, there's a recession. There's not a recession. We're never going to have a recession. Chris Thornburg's position still, as of right now, unless he changed it yesterday, is not calling for a recession. He has been consistent with that. When everybody says there's going to be a recession, he says, I know what they're saying. They're wrong. We are not going to have a technical recession. He still stands by that. He's still saying it today. And then I turn to him and say, well, Chris, you might be right, but I feel like I'm in a recession, okay? If you're in the residential real estate business in inland Southern California, it's been tough, okay? So, and part of that, not part of that, there it is. I mean, it is what it is. So we'll see what this looks like. We're supposed to be doing our monthly interview, but the 4th of July holiday screwed up my schedule. So we're going to double up Booyah next month, and we'll bring you a couple interviews next month. So I believe this is my closing slide. It is. Thank you for watching our July snapshot. We will see you in August. If you need anything, Lance Martin, Coldwell Banker, Town & Country, you know where to get the info. Talk to you soon.